Okay, Twitter's being annoying. So I know we're live and it's on YouTube, but everything that was reading on the screen was not about that. So when Jen edits this for the audio podcast tomorrow, X Twitter, of course. So I'll leave this part out. But welcome to the show, everybody. Stand by. And here we go. Enjoy. Ready when you are, CB. Do I start in Canada or Mexico?
It's me and Animal Kingdom.
You really hate us?
It's Theme Park Thursday Live with Dillo's Diz. Featuring Frank. And Jen.
This is Theme Park Thursday Live on a Theme Park Thursday Eve with Dillo's Diz. She is Jen.
Hello.
And I am Frank, and the mic check 1 2.
Mic check, you're good. Also, that's the first time you pointed to me in the right direction. Big things are happening.
Because I pointed in the opposite direction on my screen. So I learned from last week not to do this. Hi, we're live here on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/Dillo's Diz. You know how it goes. Subscribe, do the whole thing, like the video when you watch it 10 years from now, whatever it may be. But if you're listening on the audio feed, it is July the 3rd of Theme Park Thursday, but we're here on July the 2nd, the night before, with all the technology issues.
Of course.
Because we haven't done this live on the YouTube channel in a long time.
Frank, however, is going back in time with his wood paneling background from 2020.
Let me take you back to a time 5 years ago. It was a certain time. Da 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 da. Every Tuesday night we came to you live with the Parks and Monorail's most magical hour. It was us. It was the Monday morning Monorail podcast with an hour of shenanigans. Sometimes we started like after 10 o'clock.
Who were those people?
And we did that weekly for about a year.
Yeah.
And I had some good times. Talked to a lot of people in the chat. Made a lot of connections. And now here we are. So we set all this up tonight. And, StreamYard, that they know that I'm not happy with them.
Yeah.
So they're like, hey, for the next 2 weeks, we'll bump you up to advance for free. And then the new billing cycle, you'll be charged more. And I'm like, all right, give me the advance. Let's see if we can get on the other social media channels tonight as a spider. Literally just did you see it? Here it comes. It's coming back up. Here it comes back up on the camera. I know.
This is going to be a TikTok later.
Wow.
What was that? That is the TikTok for later.
Wow. This live is off the rails. We're 4 minutes in. So we set everything up to the other social media places, and I'm hitting live, and StreamYard's like, no, you can't do it. You don't have the advance. You can't do it. You can't do it. So I'm waiting for the countdown clock to end. I'm like, all right, after the countdown clock is over, I'm just going to tell Jen that it's not working.
Yeah.
And then I start to tell Jen, and lo and behold, it says live. And like, oh, you click that button for end stream. I'm like, what?
Yeah. Because you were like, all right, let's start. And then, we get minimized. And all of a sudden, Frank just disappears. So I'm like, what? Well, now what are we doing? What's happened? How many
is this spider going to terrorize me for an hour? What's going to happen?
Is it like Charlotte's Web over there? What's happening? We can... listen, we have our friend Adam on twice in the past month or so, 4 months, 3 months, what is time, with his chirping smoke detector, which, by the way, spoiler alert, but not a spoiler because I will not tell the story. He shared a story with me regarding that smoke detector, and I was like, Adam, you have to tell everyone that story. He's like, I'm gonna save it for the next time I'm on. I'm like, we have to get him back for
Oh
that.
my God.
But now, so that is like Chirpgate. Now we have Spidergate tonight. So you never know what will happen when we are recording the podcast.
So long story short, I'm here in Saratoga Springs, not to be confused with the resort at Walt Disney World.
Yeah.
I'm in upstate New York. And I'll also add, prior to this recording, I ate 37 pieces of sushi.
37? Why
I
would you do that?
I was at an all-you-can-eat sushi place.
Yeah,
And so for like $30, all you can eat.
sure.
And the children of Mrs. Dillo's cousin, are frequent visitors of this. And the young man who just graduated high school, he had been able to eat 99 pieces of sushi.
Oh my God.
In 2 hours, you get 2 hours with the all you can eat sushi. So they've been talking about it for years. All right, we're in. Go for it. And we've joked over the year, how many do you think you can eat? And I was like, maybe 40.
Maybe 40.
Maybe Bean can eat 40 pieces of sushi. And so we wanted to try others. I think I would have gotten to 41 or more. One, if I didn't have like edamame. Like I wanted to try the skewers. Like everything on the menu is all you can eat for this price, which is a crazy deal.
Yeah.
But yeah, the last plate came out with 3 rolls, which would have gotten me to 42. And I was like, all right, this will get me to 42. And I got to about 31, and I was like, I'm not gonna make it.
And then, so what were the totals of everyone at the table?
It was still going when I left.
Oh my God.
They were still in entering hour 2.
Oh my goodness. Well, that's crazy.
So, if I run out here in the middle of the podcast, that is why. But this is not why we're here. We're here on our YouTube channel with the folks in the chat saying hello, doing the things. It looks like we're on Instagram and not on X. That is what it's still telling me up in that
Interesting.
corner.
Okay.
So I will say that we are here because after this weekend, the Rivers of America and Tom Sawyer's Island will be no more. And there's some people in this chat are like, wait, we know there's a second part of the resort Q&A you did at DillosDizResort.com last week. Where is that? We're holding the second part of that Q&A and moving it to next week. We didn't know if this episode, should we do it after? Should we do it before? Should it be after it's gone? What should we do? We decided to do it before and have it, Tom Sawyer's funeral was like a thing in the Tom Sawyer book. So hence here we are with Tom Sawyer's Island funeral.
All right. Just a quick question from Jeffers. Is the Lucky Penny going to make another appearance tonight after all that sushi?
I mean, I got no promises.
Right.
I can't say for sure that's what it's gonna. But the Lucky Penny, of course, for those of you who don't know us too well, go check out last year's #Dillos Madness for the full gory details of that story. There's one thing before we get into Tom Sawyer's Island that I want to talk about here.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I go rogue posting on social media.
Sure.
So yesterday on the X, somebody posted on about there's a lot of sorcerer's hat love.
Yeah.
Sometimes in the social medias, and we are not necessarily sorcerer's hat fans. I state if you wanted to do it for a year, fine. But the fact it was there for 14 years or whatever it was a big time problem, like unnecessary. If you wanted to take the sorcerer's hat after 1 year and move it to the front of the park, like outside where the Christmas tree used to be, fine. You want to put it on top of the archway that says Disney Hollywood Studios, fine. You left it in front of that theater for 14 years, and everyone questioned the park's identity, though they're still questioning it now. And it posed some problems. So I rogue tweeted, rogue posted, whatever you call it on the X Twitter nowadays.
Who knows?
I said, take that hat, turn it sideways, take that hat, put it on top of the launch bay, and rebuild the Great Movie Ride. And then a little asterisk there, and underneath it said, you can reimagine whatever the Great Movie Ride is, with the space confinements being what they are over there. I don't know if you can get the whole attraction size over there, footprint, whatever you want to call it. Jen, would you be in favor of, it'll never happen in a million years,
right,
in favor of a great movie ride, however you want to define ride or attraction, being where the launch bay currently stands? Because you go through the archway there, so it's almost like you're going into this. It's like this movie studio archway right there. So animation courtyard with Little Mermaid and Disney Junior, whatever. It's still like you go onto the archway like you would at any other old timey movie studio. You do it at Universal. You go under an archway.
Sure.
Would you accept a new version, now that we are officially on this day, July 2nd, since we're halfway through 2025, we are officially closer to the year 2050 than the year 2000. I knew you saw that post this morning.
Oh, yeah, of course I did. It was everywhere.
Would you accept the great movie, a new version of the movie ride over where the launch bay currently stands?
I mean, as you started this with this talking about the hat basically blocking the Great Movie Ride, I start to go, is that what brought down the Great Movie Ride? People didn't even know it was there. They couldn't even see it. They didn't know there was a ride back there. They're like, what's around the hat? Who knows? Probably nothing. I guess I have to go left or right, not straight around the hat. So perhaps it is the reason the ride got shut down to begin with.
Right.
So there's that. So I don't know if it even deserves a place anywhere, Sorcerer's Hat. However, the ride itself, I don't know. My thing, it would be tough to see a reimagined version. I don't know what that looks like, because I love the old one so much. Not that there couldn't be updates. However, could I see you can go into a theater in the launch bay and watch the finale movie? Papadillo would sit there all day long.
Well, you got that at the back of the Walt Disney, the life and times of Walt Disney. What are we calling that over there?
I have no idea the thing, but you can't watch the movie there.
There's a movie theater in the back though, where they used to,
Yeah, but not the Great Movie Ride finale.
But that's where it should go.
Yeah, but also I remember when they updated that movie, and I was not happy. So I don't know. I don't know how I would feel with it. I guess I would take it, especially in the launch bay. Let's do something with the area people. But what that means, I'm unsure. Yeah. One man stream. Thank you, Louis.
Thank you, one man stream. I think, I blindly said this, right? Do I really think that? One, that's not going to happen. Two, as Troy mentioned here in the chat, there's rumors of that they know what they're going to put there. Well, obviously, it wasn't going to be Monsters Inc. I'm sure they have ideas. I'm sure they know what they're going to put there. I'm sure they know what they're going to put in the Indiana Jones Stunt Show someday. They got ideas. But in the overall, I think, what you're saying about the movie ride, we've talked about this is there was in the 90s there was a lot of talk about already. It was showing some age and what would it become next, what would it evolve to, and then you got the Sorcerer's Hat years, and yes, I do think that led some people to go in different directions, and subsequently the closure. I think what we're going to talk about here today as well with Tom Sawyer's Island and Rivers of America, I think there is often, Disney pulls back on what we're going to talk about. And that also causes some issues. I mean, I think we'll talk about marketing in general since you saw Elio over the weekend. Elio. It's not Elio? I like the pizza. Elio's Pizza. Is that the first problem with the marketing? I don't even know how to pronounce the name of the movie.
Perhaps. And the entire time leading up to it, I would go, Elio. When are we seeing Elio? And I just don't. And so still, even saying Elio back to you, I went, it's Elio, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I think there's issues, I think, to discuss still with Hollywood studios here in this time, even though we got a whole new exciting area coming to with Monsters Inc., and the Rock and Roller Coaster featuring the Muppets. Yeah. Okay. Where should we begin here this evening? Jen, is there anything else newsworthy we need to mention here before we carry on? Is there anything that jumps out at you we need to discuss?
I don't think so. All right. Let me go on a quick little tangent. I'm not going to go too far into the tangent. We are only 16 minutes into our topic tonight. When you mentioned the ex-Twitter and going rogue, so I briefly retweeted a news clip today, and then within minutes deleted it because I was like, why am I doing this? I can't do these things. But there seems to be, not only from this news clip, but I must have gotten on a side of TikTok where the arguments for the Disney adults shouldn't be a thing. I can't. It makes me so mad. All I want to do is rant about it all across social media. And then I go, what are you doing? So when I saw that tweet of this news clip today, I immediately in my head had Red Ross, right? And I then just literally tweeted a GIF of Red Ross, and been like, I can't. And then I'm like, if this invites more comments, it's just going to annoy me. And I don't need negativity in my day. Delete. But I cannot with the people, with the, you're a Disney adult, and then I went back and I was like, didn't I do a TikTok about this years ago? And I literally scrolled through our TikTok and I was like, oh no, it was about the people going, don't take your babies and your toddlers to Disney. And it was all about that. Everyone calm down. It brings you joy and you're not hurting anyone. Do what you do, love what you love, and everyone else, stop it. I'm sorry that you have some things to deal with in your life and you're a little bit unhappy and you can't understand why other people find joy in things, but enough now.
I think I know the news clip you're speaking of. So there is that. I cannot speak about the thing I was going to tangent on here live on YouTube, but perhaps next time we're over at DillosDizResort.com and I feel like I'm in a safe place, I will mention how AI fooled me today. But the third thing that I think we will not mention is, we will mention in the most positive way. Kudos to that rescue crew connected to DCL this week.
Yes.
As parents, I don't think we will go off into places that we don't need to talk about here. But what an amazing story. And an amazing, like an unbelievable, miraculous thing that happened in the Ocean Blue, basically.
Thanks to the Disney cast members for their
oh my god,
amazing rescue. Yeah,
unbelievable. As Lewis is mentioning here, I think we can be certain that we don't want the Dillos to perform our funerals. They would be an hour in and go, oh yeah, and Lewis died.
This is another thing for the resort that we'll save. We didn't really discuss something about 6 months ago. We probably should.
Oh yeah, I mean, and maybe it'll come up here today. But we'll have a lot to discuss next time we're over.
Who knew we had all these things to discuss over there?
This year has gone very fast so far. So DillosDizResort.com, in case you didn't know, is our Patreon with memberships beginning as low as $1 per month. DillosDizResort.com. That $1 a month gets you into our world-renowned, world-famous, one-channel Discord. But I will say, you can join for free, just so you know when the podcast drops and things like that every week. Sometimes I post some random pictures along the way. So we'll keep the ticker up.
I will also say that with our topic this evening, I keep digging around, and I don't know if this would count as a malaprop because it's basically the same thing. But we always say Tom Sawyer's Island.
Right.
But technically it's Tom Sawyer Island. Why is that? Who decided that? It doesn't flow. I don't know. What is that?
Yeah, it's one of those things that as a Long Islander, I've accepted as like, whether you want to call it like Mandela effect or Long Island effect, whatever.
Yeah.
It's one of those two things. Either way, after this coming weekend, the July 4th weekend, the 249th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence, the Rivers of America, and Tom Sawyer Island is Tom Sawyer's Island.
Tom Sawyer's Island.
Tom Sawyer's Island. You want to go over to Tom Sawyer's Island? Is no more. Yeah. And we've done 3 farewells here to things in Walt Disney World during 2025, and it's only July. It's July, by the way. Happy July. And we don't like them. We don't like doing these.
No. Why is this a thing? This should not be the topics that we need to cover on this podcast. Oh, here's another thing closing that's been around forever. I don't want to do that. Well, especially us. We are built on the nostalgia. We don't want to do these things.
Yeah, we're built on nostalgia. And those of you who know us really well are like, is this really going to be the same kind of episode as when Jelly Rolls closed and when Muppet Vision closed? And the answer is probably not. But there is still some things we have to talk about and some experience that we've had with the area and how we really feel about things moving forward. And are we mad that like in my case in point, I haven't been on the island since January of 2011? Probably that too. 2011. Yeah. So Jen, where shall we begin?
Oh my goodness. Should we share the screen with the video a little bit, since that's really going back in time? And
you wanna pull up what we have, because Jen and I were like, how much? Like, we didn't really bring our video camera often. And one is like not a lot of Magic Kingdom time in the 90s when we were recording the most with our video cameras, and but. If what I think is coming up first here with our video, it's we have this as well.
Yeah.
Are you going to start with the 8mm?
Yes, we'll start in the year 1981.
Let's take it back, all the way back to 44 years ago, and my first trip to Walt Disney World. Here's the Rivers of America as it looked back then in glorious 8mm film. There's the Haunted Mansion right there. And I think it's important to note, there's Harper's Mill as we move very quickly towards the riverboat. The shooting arcade not there anymore either, so next to the trading post. I think it's important to note that Tom Sawyer's Island, much like If You Had Wings, are probably 2 of my more positive memories. It was all positive, but Space Mountain was rough in 1981. But Tom Sawyer's Island was one of my favorite things. On that first trip.
As we moved to 1991, I did want to ask, because a lot of that 8mm footage is from across the water. So you did go to the island on that trip.
And I got some pictures I dropped in here as well that we can share after we show the 1991. But
look at this raft full of people.
People.
It's just 90s tourism right there on that raft.
Yeah, that's a good amount of people. on
Right?
those
That's a
rafts.
lot of people on a raft. Like, it's sturdy. Are we comfortable with that? Yeah.
And so, yeah.
What was that?
I was going to say, it was still Fort Sam Clemens there in the back at the time, which I'm sure I figured it out back then, but remembered today. I was like, oh, yeah, Sam Clemens, Samuel Clemens, Mark Twain, Tom Sawyer. Oh, yeah.
Look, it all makes sense. Look at that. Fun fact, there was a sighting of a young Mr. Snidillo a minute ago.
Oh.
Video.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's kind of like stuff like this, like the views from the island and and it did feel, in my memory, it's just old school Disney vibes of that, the Frontierland connection, and but I don't know that aside from being in the caves with the story we have told before, but we're going to need to tell it again for anyone new. The big story we tell about being in those caves. I don't know how many true memories I have from being on the island, but it probably, it's a part of us. It lives within us. Probably why we liked Lost so much. I don't know. No, I'm just rambling.
Yeah, I mean, just to go through my 1981 picks right here. This is me on the rope bridge in 1981. Hello, like it's very similar. We look the same. It's
same, totally the same.
Same look.
Yeah.
Here's the entranceway to Fort Sam Clemens. That's Mamadillo on the right, and me on the left.
Mm-hmm.
And then here I am in my, love and life. Look at that helmet head of mine. And then finally we have, there's Mamadillo there entering the little escape tunnel in the fort in the back.
Remind me the month of this trip.
This is early February 1981. So right around Mamadillo's, that would be 29th birthday.
Oh my god. Yeah, because Jeffers was like pre-gen content, and I'm like, was I in the womb during this trip? I didn't remember. So no
gen content in those pictures.
So sad. Yeah, and for anyone listening to the recording of this podcast, you can go back to the YouTube to watch this live or see the separate video we just shared with our screen for the Farewell Tom Sawyer Island video if you want to look at the old pictures and old videos that we're sharing that you can't see because you're listening.
Yeah, so a couple of things about, like I was saying, with Tom Sawyer's Island and If You Had Wings, those are like my two big, whoa, these things are cool. On my first trip. And the thing about Tom Sawyer's Island was I had an interesting, I was very young in the 1970s. I don't know, maybe some of you don't remember that decade, but in the 1970s, TV shows and movies set in the Wild West were still really, really popular.
Mm-hmm.
And in some areas of upstate New York, they had Wild West recreations.
Yeah.
In Ocala, Florida, where our grandmother lived, there was a place called Six Gun Territory. It was open for about 20 years, from 63 to 84, up on Silver Springs Road in Ocala. Mm-hmm. That was it got 5,000 people a day before Walt Disney World opened. It was a place and a time that people love to go and recreate and relive that time. And, much like Renaissance festivals, hey, Lenny Burroughs, that third week of August, don't forget, sterlingfestival.com. It's the 25th anniversary of Lenny Burroughs. Get ready, everybody.
Jeffers will be there.
Are you going to be there? You're not going to be there, right?
I'm planning on being there.
Oh,
I haven't made any reservations as, Jeffers did, but...
I did also recently book book a room for Mrs. Dillo and the 9-year-old as well.
Oh man,
Jeffers getting inside baseball the third week of August.
Jeffers gonna earn himself a new badge in the resort.
That's true. He's gonna be like, take that, Adam. I got to meet Mrs. Dillo.
Yeah.
So yeah, so they were these. So I was into cowboys, and there's like pictures of me with like replica 6-shooters that weren't allowed on airplanes in Florida. You know,
Yeah.
it was the 70s, but they still stopped me. So who could say that was possible back then?
What a time.
Da, 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 da. So all this to say that Tom Sawyer's Island was kind of like then in a similar vein of like old time, the fort and the caves and exploring. And again, as I'm frequently reminded in my adult life, whenever I come in contact with like woodsy areas, apparently I liked nature and things when I was young. And it was so connected to nature. Who knew? And Tom Sawyer's Island was a little bit of that.
I mean, in fairness, when you started at the Renaissance Festival, you were, if we're doing the math, 25.
That's correct.
So, I mean, I don't know that there's that long of a period of time where you weren't connected to nature in some sort of way. Like, still pretty young at that point.
Yeah, I mean, but I think with I remember, right, like I was like, I can't live on site at the Renaissance Festival because of allergies and all the things.
And
but
all
the things. Raccoons. I didn't want to see any raccoons. All right.
Yeah.
And but at our great uncle's on the east end of Long Island, it was a very woodsy area.
Yes.
And as soon as I was kind of on that, in the rehearsal process at the Renaissance Festival, I was like, oh my God, I love the woods. I forgot about all this.
Yeah.
And so those are the kind of things. And even to this day still, and to talk about, as we were driving up, I think I saw a sign for like Howe's Caverns, which is a big deal over here. And I'm like, how have I never been here at Howe's Caverns when I loved the caves at Tom Sawyer's Island when I was young?
Probably because, what are you going to go there? Or are you going to go to Disney? I mean, you knew that. You would have been like,
am I going to go to Colonial Williamsburg or am I going to Disney? It's the same conversations. We can't go if we were going up that far upstate, we were going to Cooperstown in the Baseball Hall of Fame. We weren't going to Howe's Caverns. So
no, they would never.
Do you remember? I mean, besides the story that we'll tell, do you remember like first time on Tom Sawyer's Island? Like anything other than that story? Is there anything that jumps out at you of you being very young there in the mid to late 80s of this?
I mean, because even this footage I'm showing is Mr. Snidillo's 1991 footage, and I'm like, was I even on this island after 1991? And I kind of feel like I was not. I don't know if I've been on the island since the 80s. Like I don't know. Not that I can think of, unless maybe I went there in the mid 2000s and I don't remember. Mid 2000s. No idea. I don't think so though. So for me, the memories are like they're just foggy. Like, and seeing that footage also like brought some things back too. But I think I kind of more so just remember the mazes and the tunnels and all of that and going over. But there's nothing crazy specific that stands out for me, and probably because I just wasn't as connected to it all. But so I really don't remember the last time I was there.
I think that I mentioned the 2011 visit, and that was because Mrs. Dillo and I did like a quick trip down to Disney for a couple days over the Martin Luther King weekend. And Magic Kingdom was one of those like, okay, this is beyond what I can put up with in terms of crowd control. So I was like, you know what, let's just go over, and it's a good temperature. Let's go over and just walk. I haven't walked around here in a while. It'd be cool to walk around.
Mhm.
And so that's a 30-year gap right there between the first visit in 81 and the last visit in 2011.
Yeah.
And I don't have any pictures or anything like that of that, but that is what just I remember was more just like, you know what, I haven't been over here in a while. Let's walk around. And I think that I know how people feel about Rivers of America, and I know how people feel about Tom Sawyer's Island. And it's not going to be any different than we've talked about with the Great Movie Ride,
Mhm.
or even with Muppet Vision. A lot of people post some 90s resort, Walt Disney World resort television footage. And when they, go do 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 do, and it's like Disney MGM Studios, and they're right out of the gate of promoting Muppet Vision 3D. Like
Mhm.
it is the biggest thing going.
Yeah.
And you think about how that slowly pulled back over the years. I mean, Tom Sawyer's Island never really had that, like, come explore this. And probably maybe the most controversial thing I'll say here today is I didn't know, and this is my process since they announced the closure. I was like, oh man, that's a bummer because of the views.
Mhm.
But I get it because it's good real estate, right?
Yeah.
And then when they announced, with the Muppet Vision closing, then I started. They would like, I'll let me lump these two things I can be angry about together.
Yeah.
And then when I went to Disneyland in February and saw the original Rivers of America, and like I canoed on the water, and every angle that I saw of the riverboat, I was like, this is like there was to me a more visceral connection to the Rivers of America there than anything I ever felt at Walt Disney World, and that includes my first visit, which I'm sure a lot of time was spent on Tom Sawyer's Island because I was like, this is cool, let's go back.
Yeah.
So that really kind of was jarring in a way, going, oh, I've never been here before, but I'm somehow having a stronger reaction than I am to the one that's in my home resort here in Walt Disney World. So that was kind of telling to me. Since we talk about the views all the time, is that something that stands out to you when they announced this was closing?
Yeah, no, 100%. And I think I was also just thinking about whether or not we named it a pocket at any point of the 7 years of this podcast. And like, there's almost something in my head that says maybe we did. And even not being there in so many years, it is part of the views. It's part of the landscape. It's part of this like comfort thing of, yeah, that's there. And that's there. And I know it's there. And that's staying the same. I love that. Like it's just, and so I'm wondering if we called it a pocket at one point for that reason. It feels nostalgic. You can, take the boat over and kind of get away from the crowds a little bit. You can kind of be back in time and all the things. So, and it gives you that kind of quieter space to take it all in. Plus, from there, especially in those videos from 1991, like the view of Thunder Mountain, like that's so cool. And so the views both ways, whether you're on land or on the island, of seeing the Rivers of America and seeing that whole picture really, and then in the reverse looking back at the park, is both sides are very cool. But yeah, it's funny, even as we were talking about it today, of like, what video do we have? Any footage I've pulled from Mr. Snidillo's archives, that's been me going through his tapes, pulling things. And I posted that on our YouTube 2 years ago. You were like, does he have any? I'm like, no, I did that. And then I go to him, hey, do you have any footage? He's like, no, I've never been there. Here he is in the video. I'm like, look, there you are. Yes, you have. He's like, oh, I have no idea. So he has no memory either. So yeah, but it's still like this, oh, but that's over there, and I like that it's there. And I, even not having this strong tie to it, it's like, but I like it's over there. It's comforting.
Yeah, I mean, and when I was kind of in that, I think it was even before they announced the Muppets closure. We came out of Country Bear Jamboree, the updated version, last August, and the riverboat was going by, and I know when I stepped out, I took a couple pictures or some video or things like that, and I was like, oh man, this is terrible that this is going away.
Yeah.
So there was that, because again, I almost have more of a feeling of Frontierland overall. And again, definitely felt it in Disneyland. I thought it was so interesting to me that Adventureland and Frontierland and Fantasyland, but really, we spent so much time in Adventureland that first day, but went over to Frontierland a lot for Thunder Mountain, obviously, because the 9-year-old loves it so much. But you could just feel like the original park, like coursing through the area.
Yeah.
And, so that really, it's such a stark difference. But I'll say that to add two things. One is, anytime we went over towards Thunder Mountain from the 90s on, we would cut down we wouldn't go straight towards like that, closer to Pecos Spill. We would cut down that pathway along the river and take that little wooden, pathway over to that side. So that was always along the edge of the river. And then when we went to Not So Scary the first time for the meetup in 2023, that with the fog on the water, and I was like, oh, that's a cool effect. Then I immediately like, oh, that's going away now. What? Come on.
Yeah. Man, Disney. Hello, Mimi. Mimi is secretly under Dr. Troy's handle there. Hi, Mimi. Welcome in. Thanks for being here. Yeah. So again, I think it's just one of those old Disney staples that adds to the vibes. It adds to the nostalgia. It adds to the views. It adds to everything. While also, I get it. I get that you're. I get why you're doing what you're doing. And, we often say we don't like change for the sake of change. I don't know, because I understand it, and because it is a big area, and because I feel like, especially post 2020, they're probably not getting, there's nothing happening. And so I don't know. I understand it. I understand it, but I don't like it.
I don't like it. I just don't understand it. Oh, you do understand it. But so Piston Peak here. This is the detail of what's going into the area. Obviously the construction of villains, all that's going to be villainy in the Magic Kingdom is also going to be happening. A little bit beyond that, as it were. How do we feel about Piston Peak?
I don't know. Because I was thinking about it more today, obviously, knowing we were talking about all this and the ongoing conversations that all of us have constantly about IPs and the representation of things in the parks. And I think this is part of my thing with it too, of I understand it, but I get it, is for us, and I've said this many times, the theming and what was already there for everything. The hotels had their own theme. The lands had their own theme. You didn't need the Disney aspect and the IPs in order to create these magical places. They were just magical on their own. And now, as time goes on, more and more gets taken over by the IPs, which I'm not like against and I'm not anti, but then there comes a point of like, so when is it too much? When is it just strictly all of that and not the originality that we loved growing up in the parks, of just everything having its own theme and it was its own thing, and we didn't need the characters to build it up or represent it or whatever. But I'm not against it either. I don't know. It's a weird thing. Like, you're in Disney, of course there's going to be representation of the movies and the characters and all the things. And maybe they're just heading full on in that direction where that is what everything's going to be. And it's not going to be these unique things anymore. But that's hard for me who grew up with everything being its own thing. So it's a battle.
Yeah, it's again, one of the things that everyone shakes their head at me for when visiting Disneyland and California Adventure in February is I didn't spend a lot of time in Radiator Springs.
Mm-hmm.
Now I was ready. I appreciated the Cars franchise for what it was. I think it was a genius marketing thing across the board.
Mm-hmm.
The movies are fine. I think the animation is what it is. Why are you laughing? Are you laughing at
I'm
me?
laughing at Dr. Troy. You aren't fans of Tom Sawyer Island. You are struggling with change. On brand.
Yeah, I think it's with this. It is again. I think it. I want to see what the final product is. I think if it really is something dazzling in terms of views and how it looks and how it blends from one area to the next. I think a lot of people are concerned about how Haunted Mansion is impacted in terms of approaching there. And I think that's a valid concern of how people's experience of Haunted Mansion is walking up that queue and knowing you don't kind of have the Erie River in the background, especially if you go at night. I think that's, a part of the allure.
Yeah.
I think I'm a little more curious of how they build the infrastructure that will lead to the Villains area and how Piston Peak, I might even say, I don't even know if I'm saying that right, Elio, and
Helios. How good is Elio's pizza? Man.
Elio's pizza, how good.
It's the best.
And what's I said this too, what's really cool about Galaxy's Edge in Disneyland is just how you can weave in and out pretty seamlessly from Bayou Country and Frontierland and how it all blends really well. So I'm a little curious to see if they do something similar to that with the areas that they're creating. I want to be dazzled. Dazzle me, Disney. And so the jury is still out. The Cars brand is what it is not, especially it is what it is. And I really appreciate what they created out of it and how everything, as a toy brand company marketing genius that it is. So I get it. It was real estate that could be better utilized. That not that it's not great, not that the views aren't great, all those things. I get it. I'm upset it's going away. But I also know it could be a key element to managing crowds in the Magic Kingdom, which I think anyone would not argue it can be the worst of all 4 parks. If you're gonna dump 1,000 people into that area, I mean, why wouldn't you try to spread things out more?
Yeah. And to be clear, as we also always say, none of this is stopping us from going to Disney or the Magic Kingdom, and we're going to go and we're going to enjoy it and we're going to find the positives in it and we're going to have fun. We had to say bye to something else in Disney, so we're just saying our feelings here. Lewis said you may still have the river. They really haven't showed a picture in that direction, and that water has to go somewhere. So that's fair. And the new views could actually be an improvement in some respects. I cannot speak. How did we do this after 10 p.m.? And I agree. And it'll just be interesting to see it all when that whole area is done. It's going to be crazy to really just see it all come together. Much like it was crazy to see Toy Story Land. Like, what? They're putting a land back here? That's weird. But no, it's, and anything. So it's just the saying goodbye to something, having something new come in, having some of the vibes go away, having another IP. It's juggling all the things.
Don't get Jen started.
What did you say?
A car ride that will compete with Tomorrowland Speedway. I fear that ultimately this will be the only car ride, and Tomorrowland Speedway will be replaced. More changes coming.
But
Jen?
what about the fumes?
I mean, yeah, if you keep the fumes and get rid of the attraction, Jen might be fine.
If I can still stand near the teacups and smell some fumes, I might accept it a little bit more.
She's only looking for the fumes.
I'm only looking for the fumes. I don't even have to go on the ride most times. I'm not going on the ride most times, but if I can stand in that one little spot as you're approaching the unloading area, please slow down and do not strike the car ahead, and smell fumes, that's all I need.
Yeah, I think you're going to have to consider after Villains Land is complete that Tomorrowland is finally going to get whatever overhaul it needs, and it needs something substantial. I think they thought Tron would be a nice temporary fix, and it was quickly. Well, I mean, Jen's never going on it again, so.
No. Lewis says they really need to make some fake fumes. Does anyone have a candle that smells like a car shop? All these candle companies that make the Disney spells need to do a fumes one.
You just got to go to Mama and Papa Dillo's in the garage and you'll be fine.
That's true. And I do. And every time that truck starts up, I'm like, it's a little piece of Disney right here at home.
I mean, you're going to have to do a TikTok where the car starts, you do the thing that you do in front of the Speedway, and then flash to you at the Speedway.
I probably have both of those videos that I can put together already. So I just have to find them.
All right. Before there's some loose ends I have to tie up here before we conclude this episode. But the story that we were going to share is regarding these caves at on Tom Sawyer's Island. Tom Sawyer's Island. Caribbean. What's the other one we say?
Elio.
Applicable.
Oh, yeah. Applicable. Elio.
Mermaid, Minute Maid. It's all fun. So in the late 80s, basically on our Walt Disney World trips, Nanny Dillo, Papa Dillo's mother, would accompany us on those trips, and to this day, the fact that she even came over to Tom Sawyer Island is a little bit mind blowing. So, and to get her in the caves, I mean. So I think one was a cave, right? And one, it was like a mine of some kind. So when I was reading up on which one was which, radiator.
Thanks.
And T-shirt for all these words. And it's like an eye chart, but it has these words.
The words that Dillo say differently.
So the one about the mine, the way I read something about it today was like it was meant to disorient you, which made me laugh. It was like one is like a cave, and then the other one was built to make it like an old time roadside attraction where it was meant to like throw you off about where you were. Yeah. And I was like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. And that's the one where like in the middle, like it's like really like with crystals and things like that. So I like to go through them really quickly. Yeah. And, Nanny Dillo, she was the nervous type. Yeah. So as I'm going quickly, bobbing and weaving through the pathways, and Frankie, it's like, and they're not that far behind me. Frankie, don't go, Frankie. And so I make a quick turn somewhere along the pathway, and all that I remember hearing is, I think Frankie went this way. Boom. Yeah. And Nanny Dillo hits the cave wall. Yeah. Now, what we realized when we were telling the story during like the Dillo's Madness, greatest stories of our lives at the theme park back in 2024, we're like, maybe we're not being so nice. Right. But this story became legend because often you didn't catch Nanny in like an embarrassing situation, let's say. Right. So we had leverage with this story for years.
She was also fine, everyone. She was totally fine.
She was totally fine.
Hurt. Everything was fine.
Yeah, we did. There was no bus called.
No.
There was no chopper. Get the chopper off the island. There was nothing like that.
Right.
Everything was fine. It was a fun moment where Nanny Dillo face planted into the wall of the game. So, but it became a legendary thing for years where we could just easily break the ice, and by ice I mean tension, by saying, I think Frankie went this way, and do that. And, it was just one of those things that's priceless Disney memories.
That's right.
That's one. Listen, keep the caves, Tom, wherever. Make sure the caves stay in Piston Peak.
Yeah.
If you keep that area, that'd be great.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and I feel like if you're gonna do that and do a if it's something for the kids, you do a little maze, you do a little cave, you got to keep that. And especially when we talked to Bob and Rick Allen, and they talked about their time in the caves in Disneyland and how fun that was. This would be a great way to refresh that. So there's possibilities.
Yeah, I think if you can pay homage to it along the way, that'd be great. And I think to say, however it turns out with the waterways, I mean, I think operationally it was very challenging to continue. You always had to bring. It wasn't connected to the utilidors.
Yeah,
it was not part of that. So you couldn't. Why is Aunt Polly's not open? Well, they don't want to bring over the food every day back and forth, and then nobody goes to Tom Sawyer's Island for a day, and then they're bringing all the food. Like, it's just like, very, very challenging. It's not like where during 2021 where what was closed? Where not Liberty Tree Tavern. Was it Liberty Tree Tavern? What was over at the Tomorrowland Terrace that was like really popular? Oh, it was what's the quick service right there? Why am I blanking? What's the help me, somebody. It is the big quick service on the Liberty Square edge right there before you hit Fantasyland. It is Columbia Harbor House.
Yes.
So Columbia Harbor House was still closed, but Tomorrowland Terrace was open because it was an open area. Yeah. So, but they would have the lobster rolls you could get at Columbia Harbor House over at it made no sense. Yeah. All these people who were worried that a cast member in a vest from Adventureland walked into Frontierland, you got the lobster rolls from Columbia, John Mulaney again. You got the lobster rolls from Columbia Harbor House. You're bringing them, and you're carting them under the utilidors and putting them into the Tomorrowland Terrace. It made no, but it was similar. So that you could do under a utilidor. Yeah, you couldn't do that at Tom Sawyer's Island. It operationally not sustainable in the 21st century.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Thank you, Jeffers, for the Columbia Harbor House.
Thank you, Jeffers. I knew I'd get there. That's the fun of the live. None of that will get edited for the audio feed.
No, just nope.
Okay, so a couple of things I'd like to address here.
Okay.
Because we didn't bring it up. Last week we did part 1 of the Q&A that we recorded at DillowsDizResort.com. And then next week, the 10th, we'll have part 2 of that Q&A.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing I want to address.
Yes.
This episode here will be what number will it be, Jen? It will be number 391 of the podcast.
Yeah.
Making the Q&A part 2 392, which means we're on a march to the 400th episode.
400th.
What did I say?
The 400th.
The 400th. Well, same. It's the same. It's the 400, everybody. So.
Yes.
It's all
March
that.
The 400 episode.
37 pieces of sushi are starting to take over.
It starts. All of a sudden, you'll just start sweating a little bit.
It's just wasabi coming out. The restaurant's name is Wasabi in Saratoga Springs, New York, by the way. So shout out to them. But the 400th episode will be on September 4th. And that's the end. That's the trajectory here. So we have to think of things for the 400th episode. We just did the 300th, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
But that's where we are.
We just did the 300th, and now our must-dos are just getting chopped off. that
Yeah.
300th episode.
Yeah, we can't do. I don't know if we could do something similar because we did the 300th, we did our must do's, and now Jelly Rolls and Muppet Vision are gone because it was two of our 5 must
I
do's.
feel like we can't do must-dos anymore. I don't want to jinx anything. Is that us? Are we jinxing these things? We can't do that. I'm worried. I'm very worried.
I see that my mic got muted. Am I all right here?
Now
How am
you're
I
back.
doing?
You're back via your speaker, so it's good.
Yeah.
We started with tech issues. We must end with tech
We
issues.
must end with. Is it better now? Thank
Yeah.
you.
Oh, top
So-
5 Dillo don'ts.
Yeah, Dillo
I
don'ts.
do like
Oh,
that, Jeffers. However, I don't want to be too negative.
too negative.
Whatever brings you joy.
Jen, do you want to talk about Just My Mom Sense at all?
Not at this moment.
Did a new episode drop this Wednesday?
It did not. So
Oh, now that's in the audio. Sorry, Jen. Sorry.
it's fine. It's fine. Yeah.
But you have a litany of episodes available.
So I'll probably well, it won't probably, but I'll be back in September with Just My Mom's.
Oh wow. Okay.
Decided to do a little summer break and get some more in the can and all the things. And yeah, so looking at the summer schedule, I was like, when am I doing all of this? No, this will be back in September. So I do have plans. I do have people lined up for guests, which I'm very excited about. So I'll probably still record those over the summer, but then like come back with the episode.
I'm going to blame Mama Dillo for this question because she said, I didn't want to call you Tuesday, because to me today, she said, I didn't want to call you Tuesday because Jen said that you would be potting. And I was like, oh, we weren't potting. We're potting tonight. Oh, maybe Jen was potting her other pod.
No, I don't think any of that happened. So
yeah. I will also say,
I think she does know that we do sometimes pod on Tuesdays. So
I mean, it's a fair assumption.
Yeah.
Right? But you did not say that directly, anything about potting.
I don't think so. I don't recall that.
I'm so glad we're tying up the loose ends here at the end of the podcast.
Our board meeting.
I will also say, right before the 400th episode of Theme Park Thursday, will be right around the 30th anniversary of when I moved to Orlando, Florida.
Oh man, we should probably take a trip and go to your old apartment.
Oh my God! Well, the first one is knocked down.
First one. Oh,
Let's see
okay.
what's there. What's standing there now?
As it should be. Jeffers, we call it potting. Mama Dillo does. She calls it potting.
Yeah, we don't call it potting.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so that is what is happening coming up here in the next 8 weeks or so.
Would you like to talk about Field of Understudies?
Hey, what? Come on. So to that, I think, and my 30th anniversary of moving to Orlando, Florida, I have been working on a project called Field of Understudies. You can go to fieldofunderstudies.com to try to get a little background. The goal is to launch another, at first, I think, launch another podcast in sequence of that, and trying to have some young actors on to read some of the parts and learn about what's going on in the acting world as well these days. So kind of like as much as the 9-episode never been pitched series that Field of Understudies is, it also kind of a double entendre with Field of Understudies, like, oh, here's a whole pool of actors who are trying to get out there in the world and do the thing. So it's kind of like there's something that was just like this. I wrote 9 episodes of television just to see if I could do it. And now it's kind of, I'm trying to figure out, I have bigger ideas in my head and I don't know how to pull the trigger on them fast enough. See, I brought it back to the old West. What's that?
Back on the talking about that. And you're also back on the talk with access to Dillos. So that's two double. Yeah.
Yes. And so, I'm back. I'm back. All 3 are back. All three of my connections. Like, I had no TikTok for 5 months. I was so happy.
This is what
now I have 3 TikTok handles. So so if you could look up Field of Understudies, go to fieldofunderstudies.com. You can connect to all the different social media channels that way. And I'm not going to go through all the underscoring and all that things that you do. Yeah. I will also add. Do I want to add? No. 400th episode. Field of Understudies. Just my mom sends on hiatus. And but go and listen to the other ones.
Yes.
And I think that would be everything. Anything else?
Oh, I think that's it.
The TikTok. Yeah, well, and the Field of Understudies TikTok, I will say, like, I am trying to figure that out. It's like playing with like some AI stuff, and then playing with like I did, like, ranked the 6. Well, because I listened to Alanis Morissette's Jagged Little Pill, and that had its 30th anniversary in June. I was like, this album is amazing.
Yeah,
it is crazy.
Yeah.
How good that album is.
Oh yeah,
it's nuts.
Yeah.
So rank the 6 singles. So I'm like, oh, do I have to do more 90s based things?
Yes.
So because the Never Been Pitched series is set in 1996, which is 1 year after I moved to Florida, which is 30 years ago this August. Did I tie it all together there?
You did it all.
All right. Well, thanks for hanging with us here on Theme Park Thursday live with Dillo's Diz over on our YouTube channel. We always don't mention it at the beginning when we're live on our YouTube channel, but we are one of those fancy YouTube partners.
Yeah.
And maybe we'll do more.
I think some people realize that during this recording, which I had to adjust some settings that I didn't realize were on, so that people can just watch us continuously.
There's another reason why StreamYard is on my list, is because, like, you should, like, why does it have to connect that? Well, you should know.
Yeah.
It should I shouldn't have to go into both and adjust all the things.
I know.
It should just do it automatically.
That's not how it works.
This is why StreamYard, you're on the clock for 2 weeks.
Come
it's
to
going to be
Riverside.
over because I'm going to start this Field of Understudies podcast, and I'm going to be on a different forum recording that so that I know I can pull all the Dillo's Diz stuff away from StreamYard.
Yeah.
Just so you know, StreamYard, do you hear me? You hear me? I'm not afraid anymore.
Riverside is on the list of places we'll probably try.
Yeah. I mean,
anyway.
That's what I'm going to try probably.
I gotta put the intro and outro on this episode so we can drop it tomorrow.
Okay. That means we're going to wrap it up. Have a great night, everybody.
Thanks for being here.
Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.
Deuces.